kind of had a little basketball weekend, a little bit, not really basketball weekend. It was slightly a little bit of basketball, but it had nothing to do with my son, Kemp, believe it or not. On Friday, my son, Jake, who's 17 years old, who got accepted to Arizona State University, but also got accepted to University of Arizona. Delaney went to Arizona State University. So did you, Kyle. And Suzette went to University of Arizona. Actually, you went to both, right, Kyle?
I did.
Okay, so my son, Jake, before the pandemic hit, we were able to take a tour of Arizona State University. And now with the pandemic, it's like really hard. You can't, you can walk around the campus and everything, but we were able to get a private tour of the University of Arizona on Friday. So get this. The tour, there was only room for 3 people on the tour. So that's my wife, Blake, me, and my son, Jake, obviously, right?
Sure.
But there's 5 people in my family. There was a second part of the tour that involved going to the basketball McHale Center, with watching the basketball practice, which is like very rare. My whole family was invited to that, and I wanted my son Kemp and my son Dutch to go to that. So there was a 2-hour gap between the 2 tours. So the University of Tucson, or the University of Arizona is, in Tucson, which is 2 hours away. So I thought I could find, there's a hotel right by the university called the Aloft Hotel. You've heard of the Aloft?
Yeah.
Nice
Sure.
hotel. So I called this guy, Steve. He's the general manager of the radio station in Tucson, KRQ. I call Steve and I go, hey, I'm going to be in town for a little bit. Do we have a connection with the Aloft? He goes, totally. Got a connection. I'll set you up. I go, great. I only need it for a couple hours because I want to drop off my kids there while I take the tour. Then I'll pick them up. We'll grab some lunch, and then we'll go watch the basketball team practice. Done. Taken care of. Great. I get a text later. Hey, I set you up at a different hotel. It's a new hotel that opened up. It's called the Tucson. Tuxon. You'll love it. It's only 10 minutes away from the school. I'm like, well, dude, I'm coming in. I go, I have literally, by the time I get to town at 9:45, the tour starts at 10. The Aloft is walking distance. It's across the street from the university. And he's like, don't worry about it. Trust me. So I pull up at this Tucson hotel, and it is in a ghetto area. It is like right off the freeway. It looks like it's not the kind of place you want to leave your kids. Right? But it's 9:45. I got to be at this tour at 10. So we walk in. The hotel is actually a nice hotel. It's really nice. It's remodeled. It's not, but it's just like you don't leave a 14-year-old and a 16-year-old. It was an old Motel 6, and it was like outside of the hotel. I'm sure there's crime.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, you know what I mean? You don't leave your kids there.
Comfortable. Yeah.
Not at all. Bad parent move. Bad parent all the way. But I had to be at the university at 10. So I dropped them off. I said, do not answer the door for anybody. And I left. And then I texted Suzette. I was like, because Suzette and I have had this thing with this guy, Steve, before. Mm-hmm. So I go, you're not going to believe this Steve you did, right? And she's like, blah, 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 and what? And she goes, you want me to pick him up? And I was like, what, are you in Tucson? She was at a funeral in Tucson. And I was like, oh my God, take him to the funeral. That'd be great. But next, Suzette, she goes and picks up my kids. So like a lifesaver for me. And when you went to the hotel.
Yeah, I was like, it can't be that bad. I pull up and I'm like, okay, yeah, this isn't the best place to leave the kiddos at. And I was like, okay. I was like, I see why Johnjay's upset. So I picked up Kemp and Dutch, and I took them with me to go eat like at one of my favorite Mexican restaurants, BK's, and literally had like the best time with them. Like I was bonding with them. We were talking hip hop the entire time. We even played that game Among Us that I've told you guys about. We were playing and talking smack to each other because they were actually talking smack to me because I kept dying in the game. And I was like, I'm usually good at this game. I don't know what's happening right now. And I kept dying, and I'm like, what's up with this? And in the game you can either be like an imposter or a crewmate, and you want to be the imposter. You want to be able to kill them. And I was waiting to be an imposter so I can take them both out, and eventually I was an imposter, and I didn't kill anybody else that we were playing with. I went straight for Kemp and Dutch, and they both looked at me like, and I'm like, yeah, what's up? Talk smack.
So at lunch, you're sitting there at lunch, and the 3 of you are like at a booth just looking at your phones?
Yeah, not even talking, just playing this game.
Yeah, so we're taking a tour of the university, and I didn't tell Blake that you picked them up because we were in the middle of this tour, which was insane. And I'm like, she goes, have you heard from the kids? I go, no, I haven't. She goes, you haven't? I go, oh, Suzette picked them up about an hour and a half ago. They're fine. She's like, what? I go, oh yeah, I forgot to tell you. Suzette was in town. She picked them up. They were going to lunch. I was showing them pictures. Look, they're eating tacos. Look, they're doing whatever. And she's like, oh, okay. So I was so grateful that you picked them up, man. It was such a stressful moment.
Yeah, no biggie at all. It was fun, and they like ordered food, and we were eating, and they within seconds were done with their food. I was like, oh my gosh, did you guys taste it? Like,
Just
did
like
you
their
guys
father.
breathe?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they were like, it was really good. We really liked this, and they were down to eat everything. I like ordered different stuff for them to try.
They loved it. They were so full.
Yeah.
So Suzette dropped them back off at the university, right? So now it was time for us to go take the second part of the tour. And they were so full. They were so full. And oh God, I'm so full. We can't walk. Why do we have to walk? Like they ate too much, right? And then we go to the university and get this. So Jake, my 17-year-old son, has to decide. He's taking a tour. Arizona State, University of Arizona. And we go to the basketball practice. And it's a closed practice. And Coach Sean Miller, legend,
Yep.
and Jason Terry, who's his assistant coach, who's won NBA champion. He plays for the Mavericks, and he's won finals. He's won, like what happened to LeBron last night. That's happened. He's won that before. They pulled Jake aside, and they talked to him about the benefits of the University of Arizona. They sit down and talk to him for 10 minutes. They literally, and I wanted to take a picture, but I didn't want to. I mean, I wanted to, but I didn't want to ruin the moment. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
I just thought, what happens if I take a picture? And I don't want this. No picture. That's what I didn't want to happen.
And that kills the vibe.
Yeah, I didn't want, and I was like, oh my God, how can someone, and there was like 4 or 5 of us, can someone please take a picture? And I had my phone out. I was like, oh God. So Coach Miller's like, look, all 3 of my sons came here. All 3 of my sons went to the Eller program. All 3 of my sons, blah, blah, blah. And then Jason Terry's like, yeah, man, this is the best school you got to do ever. And I'm like, like Kemp is like beside himself. Dutch is beside himself. And Jake's like,
Is he leaning a certain way so far?
He's not, but last night we went and wrote the pros and cons of each school and tried to figure out which one. And I'm leaning towards a certain way, where I want him to go. And then we went and we watched basketball practice for an hour. And the University of Arizona, they're just so first class. They're so top. It was just such an incredible experience. The whole thing, So that was it. I mean, that was our Friday. And then we went to Mr. On's, the best sushi. The thing about Mr. On's is, and again, our show. You can hear us all around the country, but I have to tell you this: if you ever get to Tucson, Arizona, you got to go to Mr. On's. Best sushi in the world. It's I know it sounds crazy, but I sat there, and he sits there with this look on his face, and he's like, "I've never seen a family eat so much."
This was after PK's?
Yeah, you guys can knock out some sushi, man. Like,
Yeah, you
it's
can.
pretty crazy.
Yeah, and I zoomed in on his face because he's just in this awe, this look, like, what is with your family? Yeah, my kids crushed all that food with you, but that was it.
That was earlier in
That
the
was
day.
like noon or 1 or
Yeah.
something. Then
But they mentioned, they were like, we have to make room because just my dad can crush 8 rolls by himself.
Yeah. So thank you for that, Suzette.
Yeah, no biggie.
Thank you, University of Arizona. I mean, I'm just so grateful. But it's all up in Jake's hands now. And Jake's like, well, I still want to look at Grand Canyon University. I want to look at NAU. And I'm like, no. No, this is too stressful. You got to pick one of these two. I go,